we're all taking a look at the preview of Manchester United up against Arsenal. Toyosi is, of course, here with me. And the other guys, of course, will be giving their input, their set. It was fire in the studio. Ethan Wadiri and all about Jacob Murphy. We'll get to, maybe on social media, I'll have that behind the scene where you get to see, of course, all of that discussions that's happening by the side. Toyosi, it's great to have you. You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. So this is quite a very big one. Manchester United will be up against Arsenal this particular weekend. It's going to be the night of match Sunday, tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. at Old Trafford. What are your expectations for this match?
Well, to be honest, it's an away game for Arsenal. But in the last 4-5 games, Arsenal have won 4 straight games. So this could, of course, be Arsenal's 5th win against United on the trot. And I think for Arteta himself, he might just be setting on that history in terms of the highest win percentage against United of all managers. Because since he became manager, he has only lost probably 2 or 3 games and has won 4 games, even straight now. All
right, okay. Let's get to the guys out there and let's talk to them. Let's get to see, just very, very short, just a 20-second preview. What are your expectations for Manchester United up against Arsenal?
Okay, maybe I'll start. I think it's going to be an Arsenal game. And I'm just not calling it, but based on the recent performances, yes. Arsenal have not really done well. I think their last 5 games, they've only gotten 2 or 3 wins. But then, the other guy they are playing is way worse off. Manchester United, they just can't get a win to save their lives. So you look at that side against Arsenal, coming back from a game against PSV where they scored 7, and also having 2 days extra rest. I think it's going to be an Arsenal game. But then, as usual, it's supposed to be a feisty one. If we can channel in the spirit of the Roy Keanes, the Paul Scholes, and the Patrick Vieira's of this world, hopefully we get to see a really good game.
Okay, we'll get to the wonderful, beautiful lady in red just very soon. But just before that, Thursday, let's take a look at the head-to-head. Now, in the Premier League era, this is going to be, we're taking a look at the Premier League era. Yeah. So we're talking about 1992. Up until 2025. All right, so from 1992 to 2025, they've played 65 times head-to-head. Manchester United have 26 wins to Arsenal's 21. Home wins there 18 for Manchester United, 16 for Arsenal. Of course, away wins 8 for Manchester United, 5 for Arsenal. And of course, there's been draws, both sides. They've played 65. So, head-to-head, Manchester United has it.
Of course, but, you know, that was during, I think most of these games probably happened during this man's era. So Alex Ferguson, and because there were times where you could see United whitewashing Arsenal 8-2, 4-0, the likes. But in the last 5 to 6 years, Arteta's reign has been quite different. Okay. You barely see United, you know, come up with something. But look at the statistics here: 18 home wins for United, and then 8 away wins. You barely see Arsenal come. Arsenal have 5 away wins though, but you barely see Arsenal go to Old Trafford and, of course, dominate. So I think it's a thing of even the home wins. Look at 16 for Arsenal.
So they're always quite good at their homes.
Yes, they're at their home they're very, very good. And I think Arsenal have closed down the gap in recent years. Before we can see that the margin was a little bit wide. If you remove Arsenal's last 4 games, they will have just how many wins? They will have just 4 minus 21. My mathematics is bad.
That's 17. Yeah, that's 17.
So they basically have 17. Look at how many did they have.
So all right. Okay, let's get to Toyosi now. Toyosi, your expectations, your thoughts for this game, Manchester United versus Arsenal.
Earlier, talking about how both sides are not doing too great, but Arsenal look like the better one. If you look at the last 5 games, Manchester United have only won once, drawn 3 and lost 1 game. I think that was to who did they lose to now? I can't remember now, but they lost 1 game in all competitions. They drew recently to Real Sociedad. And then for Arsenal, 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses. So you could see that it's not like in all competitions both sides are doing so great. Especially for Arsenal, those injuries to Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Jesus, who just got his goal-scoring boot on, and then all of a sudden he got injured. Kai Havertz out of the season and all of that. And then we're seeing the Waneri, the youngsters, you know, Martin Odegaard, the captain, also getting his flow back, and somehow. And then the Mikel Merino false 9, whether they're not playing him in the false 9 position, but somehow it's just coming up with the goods and scoring goals. We've always known Mikel Merino to be a goal-scoring midfielder anyway, from the Real Sociedad days, and even when he played for Newcastle and Borussia Dortmund. So somehow it just looks like Arsenal are the better side in terms of form and balance.
All right, let's hold on that. Talking about the better side, Toyosi, of course, let's look at their season so far. Yeah. Manchester United are in position, they are 14th. They're just 6 off. Just because of what they've done so far, if not, they would have been in a relegation scrap by this time. Yeah. But 14th, of course, Arsenal are in 2nd position. Look at them here. Just 9 games won Just 9 games.
Well, and Arsenal have about 6 extra. I've won 6 extra. I think the only blemish on Arsenal's season is this 9 draws. I'm surprised how Arsenal have just drawn 9 games. And there are some losses. For example, you see the West Ham game 1-0, and then you see, I think they didn't even lose to Liverpool. They haven't lost against big teams.
Yeah.
Against Chelsea, they drew. Against United, they won. So the losses have been against Bournemouth, they also lost. So the losses have been in a match you probably didn't expect Arsenal to lose. So they've had, I think for me, it's just about losing concentration when it matters the most.
Okay, well, let's take a look at one part of this particular list now, something that would quite interest us here. And yeah, that would be, let's take a look at the average goals. Average goals, 1.22 for Manchester United, 1.89 for Arsenal.
So at least 1 goal per match for Man United. For you, Arsenal, I think if we're going to summarize the 1.89, I would go say 2 goals. We see Arsenal win 2-1, 3-1, or max. But if we were to divide based on ratio and everything, minimum of 2 goals per match for Arsenal. But for United, 1 goal per game. It's quite bad. You barely see them score 2 goals. Most of the goals they probably scored 2 or 3. Maybe they were behind and then they came back. So they needed to probably win the game. But an average of 1.22 after how many games? 14 plus 9. I think after 28 games.
Yes.
It's quite bad for a club like Manchester United. Yeah. And you look at the goals conceded per game. Almost 2 goals per game.
That's where
Arsenal have not even considered.
Well, Arsenal are not even that far better.
They're far better.
Okay. I mean, what I mean is that at 0.85, that means almost a goal per game.
Yes, and they have 10 clean sheets. 10 clean sheets for Arsenal, 7 for Manchester United. And
but the point is that at no time I think this is one of the times where they have the longest. I mean, between 14 and to 12 places between them. I don't think at any point
it's never been
never been this wide.
It has been wide when Arsenal were also in the trenches. I remember when Arteta first came on board.
Okay.
That was before, I think it was 2020. Okay. Arsenal were in 8th and United were up like about 3rd or thereabout. But this is quite hard.
All right, let's get over to Hafiz there. Hafiz, of course, is standby. What are your thoughts? Considering, taking a look at this here, Arsenal just came off a 7-1 win against PSV Eindhoven after 2 matches where they didn't score at this particular point in time. Looking at them, your thoughts. You think that Arsenal, they have the firepower to trouble Andre Onana, Matthias de Ligt? Is it Lindelof that's going to be there? And of course, Dalot and all the rest. You think Arsenal have the firepower to trouble Manchester United?
I think the questions this fixture will raise is it's like a battle of trajectory because Arsenal right now, I mean, they've all but sealed their place into the next round of the Champions League. While Manchester United still have that tricky fixture against Real Sociedad. So, and I think Ruben Amorim has actually come up to say he might not field his main players, you know. So I think he might be going with the young boys. While Arsenal right now, they can see that since they've sealed that part, I mean, they've all but sealed it against PSV. They will still want to use their players to go all out to see if they can still chase Liverpool, you know, in the battle for the Premier League. So I think right now is like a battle of form. Look at Manchester United's position; they are 14th. I don't think they care anymore. They just want to, you know, stay afloat. They are not going to get relegated. Definitely, I think I can say that. But I think Arsenal will still want to approach that game. That's game against PSV where they scored 7 goals without a striker. It still doesn't change anything for me. I think they just capitalized on PSV's mistakes. PSV could have easily taken the lead in that game, but Arsenal just rolled over. They still have that attacking firepower at least a bit in Leandro Trossard. We can say Merino, but I mean, for 2 games after the 2 goals he scored against Leicester, he didn't smell the back of the net. He scored against PSV. All of a sudden, they are going to test it against Manchester United because they still don't have their main players back. So they are still going to test the same formation. And I think they might easily get it because United won't go with their strongest squad.
Okay, so I'm sorry that I had to butt in there, but then the fact is that Manchester United have no bench. They have a lot of injuries. We even saw that in the Sociedad game that they have about 3 or 4 youngsters on the bench. Even though none of them get to play. So Harry Maguire, who's been one of the best offenders this season, is also still doubtful for this game. You've got
even
the lead,
Lenny Euro,
and I know
so the kids.
So there's a chance that soon we can see some of those kids. But playing against Arsenal, they are the only place that they don't seem to have any they're a bit lacking is in the attacking side,
yes.
based on the number of players not available yet.
Yeah.
But yet,
They still
they
have
are
goals.
scoring
Trossard,
goals.
the
I'm
Sterling
looking in their
and,
last 7 games that they've scored. I mean, they scored an average of 2 goals per in the last 4 of in their last 4 games or so. So it's a team that knows how to score goals, and they also have the best defense in the league. And that's where I fear for Manchester United, because they don't have any goal scorers.
That
Like
can
that.
even go near
They
the
do not.
defense.
They do not. And I think it's an opportunity for even Mikel Arteta to, get a revenge. Manchester United knocked Arsenal out in the FA Cup on penalties,
Yes.
and somehow we are going back to the Old Trafford and be like, okay, I think we can do this. Close the gap between ourselves and Liverpool. In as much as the gap will not mean anything at the end of the day in terms of winning the EPL title, but at the same time, it's just to keep the gap respectable.
Yeah.
Not that, of course, get one over your rival.
But
so
then last season,
to feel good.
Last season was like, I think the first time in like 3 or 4 seasons that they actually won at Old Trafford, and they only won by a lone goal.
Yeah.
So
All right. Okay, guys, we'll get to that. Let's take a look at the form guide. Just get into this because that's not what a number of people want to look at. Now, looking at the form guide here, we're looking at Arsenal. Arsenal, 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. But that's where the problem is, of course. Manchester United, 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. Not so bad. Not so bad.
They could have drawn this game, actually. They could have drawn the game.
Yeah, they could have done.
I think United themselves, the last game they won convincingly. None of these games. They didn't win this convincingly.
Okay.
Even the players were basically saying, Fulham players were basically saying that they were unlucky to lose the game.
Okay.
Then this also, they could have lost. But of course, it's
This
Ipswich.
particular game,
Ipswich.
talking about Ipswich,
It was
this
very
particular
chaotic.
game was a chaotic game.
So,
Right.
and see, against Everton, they could have lost the game also. And then even Everton were denied a very, very contentious penalty. And then
So you're looking at wins that, especially that Ipswich, you're looking at matches that they just could have lost. Not like they were even in good
they
teams.
scrapped this. They scrapped this.
Okay.
They could have lost the game.
Okay.
This, they could have lost, or probably drawn the game, because even Calvin Bassey came out and said that they had issues with, officiating and everything. They could have won. They were unfortunate to lose. This, comfortable loss. This, comfortable loss.
I don't like you are saying that.
It is a
comfortable loss.
Okay, there are some games you know that United are bound to lose.
Okay.
Even against Everton, you see that, Moyes' side are actually rejuvenated.
All right.
And United, of course, are battling with
All right.
more senior players in the team.
Okay, let's get to Arsenal, of course. This was the match quite contentious. This was a shocker.
Yeah.
This particular loss against
West
West
Ham
Ham
United
was a very big shocker for Arsenal. How did they get to lose this match?
I think it was the first half.
Happens most times.
There's a philosophy about football. You don't concede a goal 1 minute before halftime. That was what happened against West Ham United. Rice did not track Jarrod Bowen, and that one went in, nodded the ball, became a goal. Of course, they're going to pack the bus. Graham Potter, yet he won for former Chelsea's manager. They packed the bus, and Arsenal didn't have like a potent forward that could probably drag them off. If Saka was there, there was a possibility that you would see at least Saka taking on 2 men out of the defense, and then Odegaard could be free to do anything.
All right, but this match was the big one
Of
against
course.
Manchester City.
5-1.
This was a very big one, right? Okay, and then of course against Wolves that was not a problem. Against Leicester that was not a problem.
Yeah.
But this was the one that we all knew was going to be a problem.
Against Leicester City, it was a problem. That was when they had to channel in
It
the
shouldn't
false
have
nine.
been
Of course,
because Leicester
They
are
are
going back.
porous.
They are going back to
championship. But I think even Wolves against Wolves, they had to dig deep. The lack of a prudent forward is doing Arsenal a lot of damage. Martinelli out, Saka out, and Gabriel Jesus is out.
Okay.
So you're basically having to do with a makeshift 9.
All right, let's head over to the other guys now. The major talking point now has to be, what are your own expectations? What's going to happen for this particular match? What do you think will happen? Can Arsenal inflict a heavy defeat on Manchester United? And of course, Ruben Amorim. We're talking about Ruben Amorim, of course, being there for Manchester United. And now it's clear that Erik ten Hag did better in his last 15 or 16 matches than Amorim has done in his first 16 matches, right? Now, the point is this. Are Arsenal going to inflict further damage and put further pressure on Ruben Amorim?
So I think that's going to be the case. How serious it's going to be is what everyone will be looking at. Manchester United are depleted, like you mentioned earlier, with injuries over there. In fact, when you see one player trying to do well, they just find but there's this ill luck that just fall with them. Amad Diallo, Manuel Ugarte down, and just that one player, Harry Maguire. Any of the players that is trying to do well, they just get plagued by injuries. So here it is. They're going to be playing a side that has had 2 extra days of rest to play them. They played on, Thursday against Real Sociedad, a match they labored for. Unfortunate draw because they could that penalty is questionable. But then now they still have the second leg coming up next week. Then it's something they need to fight. So how is going to manage this? It's going to be a very dicey one. So I think it's an Arsenal one. And like I said, even when I was starting this, I think Arsenal will roll over. How much goes? That's left to be seen. Whether even Arsenal will score, but whether United is going to get goals, I cannot vouch for that.
All right, so due to time, Toyosi and Hafiz, I just want a straight one. Straight prediction. What's going to happen? Man U versus Arsenal.
Oh, I don't know. Because to some extent, Arsenal can falter this one. I'm not saying they will lose, but somehow just mess this up and make it complicated than it looks.
Okay.
And the reason why it might be complicated is because even for Manchester United, we might sit here and analyze how they're not doing so great. They're also depleted, this and that. But somehow, when it comes to rivalry games where everybody is on edge and all of that.
It happened with Liverpool.
And you are having to play that at the Old Trafford. And don't forget that, I understand that they traveled to Sociedad, came back, but the next game, they will be at the Old Trafford. They don't need to travel. So, I understand that, one day less in terms of resting compared to Arsenal. But somehow, this could just push out the best out of United. And say, all right. We want to win or at least take a point from this game. We might not just lose.
All right, wonderful. We'll get to the Hafiz very fast. What are your thoughts, your prediction? Just very fast.
Well, games like this, form goes out of the window at times. I mean, we've seen United in very bad form, still beating Arsenal. And but at the same time, Old Trafford is not a fortress anymore.
No, of course.
So I think just with that slight advantage that Arsenal has with the players and Manchester United's players not being available, I think Arsenal will take this straight.
I don't think it's going to be a whitewash, but Arsenal can win this one, definitely.
Maybe it's 2-1.
And United can be stubborn and end in a draw.
Yeah, I just want to keep it respectable and use a good block.
All right. Okay, guys. We'll just take a very short time out now because when we get back, starting from Manchester United Arsenal, it's our betting, the punting corner. Right? We're going to take a look at games across Spain, maybe even MPFL.
Yeah.
Yes, because the report for MPFL.
No, man.
You shop for them most stars.
You go cook.
Okay. All right. Okay, we'll just take a very short time out now. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, it's a punting corner. I'm going to be talking about the games happening across this weekend and bets that you could pick, of course, to make yourself some money. Don't go anywhere.